Hey, this is C&D Channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions for Bellator 117, Lima versus Hawn, which happens on April 18th. Main card's on Spike TV, prelims on Spike.com. As far as the card goes, got a really strong main card. Looking forward to the main event. You got the lightweight tournament semifinal going on. Karl Amoussou also fighting as well. Prelims, not that great, man. You got a lot of guys with winning records versus guys with like .500 fighters. A good amount of .500 fighters on here. I mean, you got some decent prospects though. LaRue, Burley has a win over Bubba Jenkins. Julio, Cesar, Neves, 19 years old, training out run of a cow, undefeated at 28-0. Jordan Parsons, 9-1 record, only 23 years old. So you got some decent prospects on here. Some, Houston Alexander's fighting, but man, that guy's kind of he can have either a really cool win or good loss, or really, he can lose spectacularly too. Anthony Smith wasn't too bad in Strikeforce. He had one fight in the UFC. Otherwise, it's not the greatest prelims. There's a lot of on paper mismatches here, But otherwise, let's get started though. For the vacant welterweight title, Douglas the Phenom Lima fights Rick Genghis Hawn. Rick Hawn is 18 he has an 18-2 record with 11 wins by KO or TKO, 7 wins by decision. He's 37 years old on a 4-fight win streak. Training out of TriStar. He has Olympic level judo. Good boxing. He uses a lot of straight punches in combination, and his takedown defense is pretty solid as well. At welterweight, he did manage to knock out Ron Kessler, but I don't feel his power has really manifested itself at welterweight. It really showed itself at lightweight though. But nonetheless, still a solid fighter. Douglas Lima, 25-5 record, 11 wins by KO or TKO, 11 wins by sub. He's 26 years old on a 4-fight win streak, training out of ATT Atlanta. He has good kickboxing, 1 strike KO power. I mean, this is a guy that finished Ben Saunders with a body punch to head kick. He's also had 1-punch KOs. He's been showing a lot of power in his strikes as of late. He has some good BJJ, and he's really good off his back too. This guy will throw. He's a really good triangle. He'll go for arm bars and whatnot as well, and just has some really solid Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. Another thing to note: Douglas Lima is a very big welterweight, whereas Rick Hawn he's fought at lightweight before. With great success, but obviously he managed to get a welterweight title shot. It's opportunity cost here. He's 37 years old. It's not the worst decision for him to fight at welterweight. Nonetheless, I got to go with Douglas Lima to win this one. More variety in his striking, better on the ground, shows a little more power. Gonna be the bigger fighter. The cardio is probably one of the things that would be a bit concerning. I don't know. I think from what I've seen from Hawn, because he gets a decision a couple times, he'd probably go 5 rounds and probably go into the deep water and still perform pretty well. Lima, on the other hand, he's big for the weight class. I just don't know if he'll be able to go into the deep water that well. He has before though. I think in MFC he went to the third. I think he went to the 4th round in MFC, if I'm not mistaken. I forgot against who now. He won by triangle choke though. Nonetheless, I'll go with Lima for the win. Next round is that Derek Campos fights Patricky Freire. Derek Campos has a 14-3 record. 3 wins by KO or TKO, 5 wins by sub. He's 26 years old on a 5-fight win streak, training out of Muller MMA. Other guys that train out of there would be Will Campuzano. He has some you know, average stand-up. It's definitely not bad. I wouldn't say it's great or anything, but it's not bad. And he's a good wrestler, too. He's good on top. He has good ground and pound. So, definitely a solid fighter. Patricky Freire has a 12-5 record. 8 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. He's 27 years old on a 2-fight win streak. Trains out of Team Nogueira on the Pitbull Brothers. He has some really heavy hands, man. This guy most recently knocked out David Rickles. Really good stuff there. He has some good Muay Thai. But one of his biggest problems, though, is that he brawls. I mean, he gets real sloppy and reckless and will start looping, you know, throw haymakers. He actually has some good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. When he shows it, his overall grappling's pretty solid, actually. He doesn't show it all the time, but the few times he has shown it, it's not too bad, you know. One of his biggest problems, though, has been his cardio. His cardio has not shown itself to be that strong. It tends to fade relatively early for a lightweight, too. Nonetheless, this is part of the lightweight tournament semifinal. I'll go with Patricky Freire to win this one. I think he's a harder hitter. His takedown defense, I think he'll be able to defend Campos' takedowns. It's not like he has like weak takedown defense or anything like that, you know. Like I said, a good amount of variety in the strikes. He has some good knees as well. Campos, like I said, solid. Not really spectacular, but solid. But I'll go with Patricky Freire to win that one. Next fight up, Marcin Held fights Derek Anderson. And it's a lightweight tournament semifinal. Well, Marcin Held, 17-3 record, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 9 wins by sub. He's 22 years old on a 2-fight win streak, and he has some strong leg locks, man. This guy I've never seen a guy like win so many fights with toe holds. You know, I mean, seriously, this guy transitions from like heel hook to toe hold and stuff like that. And his overall ground game, I mean, it's not just his leg locks. I mean, his leg locks are the strongest part of his game. But his overall ground game is really good, and his stand-up is improving. Derek Anderson, 11-0 record with 1 no contest, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 6 wins by sub. So, besides 1 fight, he's finished all his opponents. He's on a 4-fight win streak. Knocked out his last opponent, I believe it was Brandon Gertz, with a knee as he was coming in. He's a real tall and lanky guy, too. He's a good wrestler. He has good stand-up. You know, he uses range relatively well. Sometimes, I notice like Pitbull, for example, Patricky Pitbull managed to really get inside, counter with some left hands, some left hooks and whatnot. But he will use range nonetheless. He's actually a good wrestler. When like Gertz took him down, he managed to get back to his feet and showed some overall good takedown defense. And of course, Anderson also has a win over Patricky Freire as well. I wasn't too high on Derek Anderson actually until the Brandon Gertz fight. Then I was like, hey, you know what, this guy actually looks pretty good, pretty solid prospect. I know what Marcin Held's gonna do, and you know, in his last fight, I picked his opponent to win, and then Marcin Held managed to take him down and get the toe hold. So, but the problem is, like, I think Anderson is better than his. I forgot the name of his last opponent, Brazilian Muay Thai guy. You know, because one thing that Anderson does have is he does legitimately have good wrestling. You know, he's gonna be pretty tough to take down, and I think especially with his height. He's definitely going to make it hard for Marcin to really get the fight to the ground as well. So with that said, I am going to go with Derek Anderson to win this one. He's shown to me that he'll fight a relatively smart fight. Fight a pretty, you know, Brandon Gertz isn't, he's a good wrestler, and actually his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is not too bad. Probably not the same level as Marcin Held. But, you know, I've seen Anderson fight a grappling-based fighter and knock him out. Marcin Held, grappling-based fighter. I think he'll also have a hard time taking down Anderson. So, yeah, I'll go Derek Anderson for the win here. And if Pitbull Freire wins, then you got a rematch with Patricky and Derek Anderson. Should be in the final. Should be pretty interesting. Okay, next fight after that, Karl, the Psycho Amoussou, fights David Gomez. Gomez has a 16-7 record, 9 wins by KO TKO, 1 submission win by strikes. He also has 3 losses by KO TKO and 2 losses by sub. Amoussou, 16-6 record with 2 draws. 4 wins by KO TKO, 9 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO TKO. He's 28 years old. Funny thing with one of those KO TKO losses, it's like, I think it's like Ben Askren's like one of his only wins by TKO. Oh no! Actually, he finished Koreshkov too. He is on a 2-fight losing streak. Goes to Paul Bradley, to Ben Askren, and then Paul Bradley. He's, from what I read, he's training out at ATT these days. He's a good kickboxer with really strong kicks. One thing about Amoussou, he blitzes opponents. I mean, he is so dangerous in the first round. It looks like a top 10. He always looks like a top 10 fighter in the first round, and then after that, he looks like crap. He does have some good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. He went. I mean, if you watch that one fight against, I think it was against Lozano. He goes for gets a flower sweep, takes the back, ground and pounds, rear naked choke. It's really nice stuff. I think Brian Baker rolled for a leg lock. I mean, it's really good stuff. And he has good leg locks, too. Really good leg locks. His cardio is just terrible. That's the biggest problem with Amoussou, really, honestly, is his cardio and his overall pacing. Nonetheless, I think he wins this fight. You know, I can see him being able to blitz his opponent. In both the stand-up and the ground, he's really good there. You know, he will roll for leg locks as well. I'm going to call Amoussou to win this one. Okay, on to the prelims. Tim Bazer fights Jordan Parsons. Or is it Bazer? I'll say Bazer. Tim Bazer, 14-15 record. 3 wins by KO TKO, 9 wins by sub. He also has 9 losses by submission. Jordan Parsons, 9-1 record, 2 wins by KO TKO, 2 wins by sub. He's only 23 years old on a 2-fight win streak, training out of Minnesota Martial Arts Academy. Like Sean Shirk, he used to train out of Minnesota Martial Arts. It's definitely not a camp that's getting, that's like that well known anymore. It used to be one of the more well known camps out there. Nonetheless, it's still a good camp, and I'll go with Jordan Parsons to win that one. Next about that, Josh Arocho fights Julio Cesar Neves. Well, Arocho has a 13-12 record, 1 win by TKO, 10 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO TKO and 6 losses by sub. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. Julio Cesar Neves, 28-0 undefeated record, with 17 of those wins being by KO or TKO, 8 wins by sub. He's only 19 years old. Trains at a good camp in Reno Vacal. Other guys that train out there would be like Luis Noguera. Some other guys. I think Jose Maria Tomei trains there too, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Mikel Falco used to train out of there, but not anymore. But yeah, it's a really good camp actually, and I'll go with Julio Cesar Neves to win that one. Next fight, I thought Victor Moreno fights Anthony Smith. Moreno has a 32-19 record, 15 wins by KO or TKO, 12 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO and 16 losses by submission. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. Anthony Smith, 17-11 record, 8 wins by KO or TKO, 8 wins by sub. He also has 6 losses by KO or TKO and 5 losses by sub. He's also on a 3-fight losing streak. He's got some good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. He's really tall and lanky, so you know he has a good triangle off his back, for example. Beat Lumumba Sayers actually by triangle choke. Stand-up's average. It's never been that bad. It's not great. chin's not that great though. This guy's pretty young. I think he's only like late 20s, and he's been cracked a couple times. Nonetheless, I'll go with Anthony Smith to win this one. I mean, I always thought he was decent. I never thought he was great, but I thought he was like, you know, solid mid lower tier guy. You know, he fought twice in the UFC actually. He fought Hoger Gracie. No, right? Oh no, he fought once. He lost against Antonio Braganetto. But nonetheless, yeah, I'll go with Anthony Smith to win that one. Okay, next right with that, Ben Crowder fights Joe Vedepo. Well, Crowder has a 10-11 record, 3 wins by KO TKO, 7 wins by sub. He also has 4 losses by KO TKO and 6 losses by sub. He is a finisher who's never been to decision. I think one of his losses too is like a DQ loss. So yeah, he's never actually been past the second round, and the only time he's went to the second round, so in all of his fights, is like 21 fights, 20 of them were all finished in the first round, either with him getting finished or him finishing someone. And the one time he went to the second round, it only lasted 30 seconds. Joe Vedepo, 14-8 record, 5 wins by KO TKO, 7 wins by sub. He also has 4 losses by KO TKO and 2 losses by sub. He's on a 3-fight losing streak right now, training out at ATT. Had a really good fight though against Kendall Grove in his last outing in Bellator. Showed good resilience, you know. He's not like great anywhere, you know. I can't say he's like this great striker, great on the ground, but you know, he's a gamer. That's what I can say. He used to fight in the UFC too, but just briefly, you know. I'll go Joe Vedepo to win that one. Okay, next fight after that, LaRue Burley fights Cliff Wright. Cliff Wright, 8-5 record. All 8 of his wins are by submission. Trains out at Hard Drive MMA. Other guys that train out of there would be Steve Karl, Jared Demon Eyes Downing. LaRue Burley, 3-0 undefeated record with 2 wins by TKO and 1 win by decision. He's a good wrestler, and like I said before, he has a notable win over Bubba Jenkins. He TKO'd the guy. I'll go with LaRue Burley to win that one. Next right after that, Trey Brown fights Jared Downing. Trey Brown, 4-2 record, 1 win by TKO, 1 win by sub. 29 years old on a 2-fight win streak. Jared Downing, 9-4 record, 1 win by KO, 1 win by sub. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. Trains out of Hard Drive MMA. He's a good wrestler. He's really aggressive, always pushing forward. He has some pretty good cardio, actually. He went all 5 rounds with Lance Palmer, for example. I don't know much about Trey Brown, but I have seen Jared Downing fight a couple times, so I am going to go Jared Downing to win that one. And finally, Houston Alexander fights Matt Uhde. Matt Uhde has a 3-4 record, 1 win by TKO, 2 wins by sub. He's on a 4-fight losing streak. Houston Alexander, 15-10 record with 2 no contests. 10 wins by KO TKO, 3 submission wins by strikes. He also has 5 losses by KO TKO, 2 losses by sub. He's 42 years old. He's got some good offensive Muay Thai. His knees are really good. He actually has some pretty hard leg kicks as well. He's got some overall heavy hands. His problem though is he has a weak chin, he has weak cardio, and he's weak off his back. So, I mean, offensive stand-up, he's really good. Defensively, not the greatest. Nonetheless, he's good enough to beat Matt Uhde, I think. I'll go with Houston Alexander to win that one. Okay, and to recap, the main card of Douglas Lima beating Rick Hawn, Patricky Freire beating Derek Campos, Derek Anderson over Marcin Held, and Karl Amoussou over David Gomez. On the prelims, I have Jordan Parsons beating Tim Bazer, Julio Cesar Neves over Josh Arocho, Anthony Smith beating Victor Moreno, Joe Vedepo over Ben Crowder. LaRue Burley beating Cliff Wright. Jared Downing over Trey Brown. And Houston Alexander beating Matt Uhde. So that's it for my predictions for Bellator 117. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.